they might scream banana, banana, banana over and over and over again.
The Justice Department quietly acknowledged in a court filing that they, too, could find no evidence for President Trump's wild tweets accusing former President Obama of wiretapping Trump Tower back in March. And make no mistake, this information is embarrassing. It's embarrassing because the president said something that wasn't true at all, and the federal government knew it wasn't true back in March when Comey testified, and your taxpayer dollars keep being used to investigate this fiction. But the bottom line is, and always has been, there is no evidence that Donald Trump was wiretapped by Barack Obama. It was and continues to be a lie. And no holiday weekend Friday night document dump is going to cover that.
Fort under surveillance. CNN has learned that investigators wiretapped former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort under secret court order, both before and after the 2016 election. And that surveillance continued into this year, including a period when Manafort wasn't working for the campaign, but was known to talk with President Donald Trump.
White House. He is prepared to testify that President Trump, as a candidate, Donald Trump, directed him to make contact with the Russians, which contradicts all that Donald Trump has said at this point. As well, we're told that Flynn made the decision to cooperate only in the last 24 hours, that he is distraught about the decision but feels he's doing the right thing for his country, that he was facing huge legal bills of more than $1 million. He says that Mr. Trump directed him to be in contact with the Russians during the campaign.
Directed him to be in contact with the Russians during the campaign. Do we know what those contacts were about?
Initially, they began with contacts to deal with ISIS, cooperation in Syria to deal with ISIS, and then it evolved beyond that. And George, if you look at the timeline as you were...
Now that report caused the Dow Jones to take a nosedive, dropping 350 points.
Now, it's important to point out that the conversations in question here happened during the transition, not during the campaign itself.
And David, a clarification tonight on something one of Flynn's confidants told us, and we reported earlier today. He said the president had asked Flynn to contact Russia during the campaign. He's now clarifying that, saying, according to Flynn, candidate Trump asked him to find ways to repair relations with Russia and other hotspots during the campaign. And after the election, the president-elect told him to contact Russia on issues, including working together to fight ISIS.
Ross misquoted his source, and it took ABC News hours to correct the mistake.
Breaking news, the federal government has revealed that hackers targeted election systems in 21 states last year. But in most cases, the systems were not breached. Homeland Security officials say the hackers, believed to be Russian agents, targeted the voter registration systems.
Well, tonight, federal authorities told Pennsylvania officials that Russian hackers unsuccessfully tried to access its election systems.
This is a Fox News alert. The Department of Homeland Security has notified 21 states that hackers targeted their systems last year, although in most cases, the DHS says the systems were not breached. The Associated Press first broke this story, saying the states included Alabama, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. Homeland Security Department issued a statement.
As of right now, we have evidence of 21 states, or election-related systems in 21 states that were targeted.
21 states, the Russians attempted to hack into their electoral system. But we hear from Secretaries of State, Democrat and Republican, that they've not been notified by DHS.
Nearly half of the country learning they were targeted by Russian hackers. The Department of Homeland Security notifying that 21 states on Friday, including several won by Hillary Clinton. Here to talk.
In part, quote, Wisconsin is one of 21 states whose chief election officials were notified today by the Department of Homeland Security that their systems were targeted by Russians. The Homeland Security Department did not disclose which other states were notified, but said the states were free to disclose the information. And then some of them did. Not all of them did, but some of them.
The news that we reported this morning regarding the 39 states that, that had electoral systems hit by Russian hackers, it's unclear.
Virginia and Wisconsin, they all have now put out a statement saying that Homeland Security has notified them about Russian efforts to target their election infrastructure during the election.
Wisconsin's Election Commission reversed course today, saying its systems were not targeted by Russian hackers.
Well, John, Donald Trump, his son Donald Trump Jr., and others in the Trump organization, they received an email in September 2016 offering a decryption key and website address for hacked WikiLeaks documents. Now, this is according to a September 4th, 2016 email provided to congressional investigators by the Trump organization. Now, to put the time frame in context here, this email came months after the hacked emails of the DNC were made public, and 1 month before WikiLeaks began leaking the contents of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's hacked emails, and shortly before Trump Jr. began an exchange of direct messages on Twitter with WikiLeaks. Now, congressional investigators are trying to determine whether the individual who sent the September email is legitimate. The email came from someone who listed his name as Mike Erickson, and it was addressed to Trump Jr., Trump Jr.'s personal assistant, and others. Now, the investigators are uncertain who the sender is, and CNN was unable to make contact with the individual. It's not even clear whether the email was a legitimate effort to provide these hacked documents to the Trump campaign. We are actually correcting a story that we have been reporting throughout the day today about an email that was sent to the Trump campaign, to then candidate Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and others during the heat of the campaign season. This email included a decryption key, and also, now we've been reporting that this email came on September 4th. That was before some of these documents were publicly available, but we have just obtained a copy of this email. And instead, we now learn that this email was on September 14th. So that is 10 days later than what we originally reported earlier today. And this appears to change the understanding of this story, because initially it seemed perhaps they were being offered access to documents that were not yet publicly available. But in this,
the White House is saying that Flynn's conversations with Ambassador Kislyak, in which he was basically trying to do the Trump transition team's own foreign policy in contrast to the Obama administration's foreign policy, that was with the blessings of the Obama administration. Is that true?
That's absurd.
This building doesn't see anything necessarily, inappropriate about contact between members of the incoming administration and foreign officials, no matter what country they're from.
No.
Right?
No. And again, this has been ongoing. We have no, no comment or no problem with them doing such.
I wouldn't shit you.
Say that we blessed it or acquiesced in it is a stretch.
You're my favorite turd.
You might even start to believe that this is a banana. But it's not. This is an apple.